Kedibone Chuene joins us for this episode of What's Next. Kedibone is the Chief Specialist for Product Marketing at Liberty. And if you've been following the series we've been doing on Liberty, some fascinating insights into the insurance industry. Kedibone, firstly, welcome to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. And thanks for having me back on your show. Thank you so much.
It's lovely to see you again. Kedibone, it's a very interesting industry, and it's, the insights from data and the way this industry is changing so rapidly. It's fascinating to watch as a spectator. What are the latest insurance trends that you are seeing in the South African market?
Yeah. Thanks, Aki. I think, some of the trends that we're seeing, obviously, I think coming out of COVID, what we're finding is that affordability is still a bit of an issue for some of our clients. So we've been forced into this environment of forced innovation where we have to kind of like find ways to reduce costs. And I think one of those ways is reducing the underwriting costs. And then the other thing that we are seeing is this whole digital transformation, whether then be it some of us then doing the whole hyper-personalization, or also then just making sure that we're revolutionizing things like submitting claims and making sure that those processes are a lot smoother and we're cutting out the time that it used to take to actually finalize the processes. That would be some of that. But then I think on the overall, I think is this whole thing that we need to always constantly think about the pockets of our clients, because obviously if they cannot afford the products that we're putting out there, then we constantly have that problem to make sure that we make the money that we need to make, but we ensure that our clients are covered the way that they need to be covered.
That personalization is so interesting because it's giving you such interesting data points to work with. And it's fascinating. When we spoke last year, I remember you were talking about the importance of differentiating between men and women, when we were discussing those insurance trends. But since then, what trends have you seen regarding women in the insurance industry?
Yeah. So I think, Aki, one of the things we're very passionate about that whole difference between men and women. And I think we realized that obviously we've got, like, I think I mentioned the last time that we've got a lot of like women joining the working force, and a lot of them are kind of like the head of the household as single parents. So what we did is that we partnered with the research company KLA, and out of that, what we realized is that whole thing of every woman doesn't really exist in this environment, because we realized that even within the women, there's unique sets of women that you really need to look at. So you find that there's women who kind of like want to do this whole thing of raising kids the way we traditionally have known it and growing families. Then you find the ones that kind of like just to harmonize the in-laws, then they just would have 1 or 2 kids and then leave it there. Then now you're having this whole thing where people are actually childless by choice. Like, it's not because they're having any health complication. They just decided that that is not the path for me. And I think if you're then thinking of designing holistically for women, you also have to think about them. So what the greatest insights coming out of it was that when we're actually asking them all these questions, also then trying to find out how can we be a lot more inclusive for this set of women, and also making sure that with the products that we have, are they catering for their needs the way that they need to. What we found out, I think there were just some interesting insights that maybe then I can share with you. So over and above all those subsets of women that I've told you about, what we also then realize is that especially for the women that don't have kids. So traditionally, I think you'd realize that a lot of what people would call like a product for women, it'll be more kind of like around the pregnant related illnesses and the birth defects for the children that will come out of that pregnancy. But now we're realizing that you're also then having women that are worried about aging older, whether they have kids or not. The things like cancer, actually the breast cancer being one of them, things like bone-related illnesses and things like osteoporosis being one of the things that we had to make sure that we look at them. And then lastly, then looking at this whole idea of then women delaying having kids, because either maybe they're looking at the idea of, I want to be financially stable before I start having kids, or I want to push my career before I start having kids, or I just maybe then don't have that kind of like family support that when I'm raising kids, then I know I've got like my mom near me that can help me in this whole journey and stuff like that. So what we realize as well is that as you're looking at the products that actually are tailored for women, you also need to be mindful of the delaying having kids, because it means that the entry age for those covers need to consider this in mind. And also the ceasing age for the cover need to also be mindful of the fact that if they're starting late, it means they won't need the cover until a lot later.
Have these trends influenced Liberty to enhance its offerings and client services in any particular way? I guess it gives you more focus exactly on what you need to do.
Yep. And thanks for asking that question, Aki, because I think, as you can imagine, we probably already have certain covers that covered both men and women, but we needed to make sure that when we're talking about cancers, then the kind of conditions we cover, they needed to be wide enough to make sure that we cater for women's worries that we actually source out of this insights. And I think one of them obviously was the whole idea around financial stability. And we needed to make sure that should a woman that actually gets covered with us find themselves in that condition, we must be in a position to make sure that they feel protected throughout that journey of recovery and the journey of actually then just battling with the illness until such a stage, either whether they recover. And if in the unfortunate event where it gets to a later stage, we needed to make sure that we make it as comfortable for them to be able then to access money to actually just relieve some of the strains that comes with the later stages of diseases like cancer. So as a result of that, what we did actually this year towards the end, we came up with a cancer claim booster, which is one of the new enhancements that we have under our lifestyle protector benefits. What this does is that it just goes beyond the standard coverage, and then it protects the clients and make sure that they have that financial support should something like that where they actually find out that they've got a cancer-related illness happen. And in the stages where they were actually, have that the stage of that cancer go on to the more serious thing, then we make sure that we give them more finances to support them through that journey. So what the claim booster does is that it offers an additional 25% payout for the stage 3 and stage 4 cancers progress, and also then make sure that throughout that process, even if you had to go through palliative care, we would make sure that in a stage where you can probably have about 12 months or less left, we would actually release the rest of the funds just to make sure that that end of the journey is a lot easier on you. Obviously, no one can actually remove the pain of actually going through cancer.
So that's so interesting. You really are diving deep and tailoring products specifically for the circumstances around us at the moment. What are the biggest challenges currently facing the South African insurance industry and Liberty in particular?
Yeah. So I think I touched on it a little bit. This whole idea around job security for us, I think is quite a serious thing, because I think for a lot of people, as you can imagine, we're also dealing with the whole thing of the industrial fourth revolution. Obviously, we, as insurers, we are forced to actually innovate to make sure that we cut down prices where possible so that we can give the premiums that clients can afford. But what that also has done is that for some cases, what it does is that it has created certain roles to become redundant. And obviously for certain people that have lost jobs during the likes of COVID, they're either then still finding themselves then still recovering from that, having lost the job and then trying to get back on their feet. And I think we needed to think about those kind of things. The other things that we kind of consider is that with this whole digital transformation, there's the idea of cybersecurity. We needed to make sure that our clients are confident that when it comes to their personal identity, we protecting them. And I think actually given all these kind of fraud cases that you kind of hear about in the news, and making sure that their personal information is only released to the people that they've given them permission to actually have access to that information. So those are some of the things. And when it comes to then things like the non-traditional insurers that are kind of entering the market, I think, as you can imagine, we obviously, us being the traditional insurers, now we're finding ourselves in a moment where we're competing against the likes of retailers and grocery stores who are offering similar benefits to what we normally would think that as insurers that's what we can do. And they come with strong brands. So that competition for us is something that we are forever mindful of whenever then we're trying to then innovate for this market. As the last thing that I wanted to mention is that I think another thing that we also then is maybe a problem, but it's a nice problem to have, is that we're having this large group of youths that are actually entering the job market and are actually at a point where they should be actually getting cover. But what we're finding is that we need to find innovative ways to actually educate them around insurance and the importance of cover at the early stages, because I think that is not top of their minds. So that is also then another challenge that we think. So a lot of us, you find that we're trying to innovate around using TikTok to reach this market because they're young and they connect differently. Their language is different. So we're finding ourselves having to kind of meet them at their point of needs, at their point of engagement, just to make sure that we get them into the insurance fold.
Yeah, what do you mean that they're young and they're on TikTok? I'm on TikTok as well, you know.
You're TikTok, then you're young at heart. Then you're young at heart, Aki. So I think what I'm just saying is that you need to find easier ways to talk to them, because if you're going to be using all these heavy insurance rates, you miss them in the process.
No, you're 100% right. And it's just adapting to the market and listening to the market. And this is what Liberty has been doing. And it's been wonderful to watch the journey, because you really have been adapting to these market changes and the trends that are happening and what your clients are asking you, what they're saying. This is what we need. What kind of future innovations or initiatives can clients expect in the coming years from Liberty? Because this journey is not slowing down. It sounds to me like you're accelerating it.
Yeah. So obviously, I think some of the things that we want is that our flagship product is the lifestyle protector. And one of the things that we big on is that we want to make sure that we help our clients manage their health so that they can have a better lifestyle outcomes out of it. So that is one thing that we always continuously making sure that we find these strategic partners to say, over and above then, making sure that we take care of your cover. Let's also then find you strategic partnerships that can make sure that wherever we find an illness that you have, then we can help you manage it. And if we are both likely, then we find ourselves in a stage where your health has improved and you're able to then live a better life out of it. Then one of the things that we also then continuously doing is that out of this whole digital transformation, the journey is going to continuously be like that, where we're finding ourselves then having to make sure that we improve how we submit claims, how we onboard clients. We've had the likes of things like introducing things like smart application forms, where other than someone that maybe might have joined our business 10 years ago, where they probably would have had like a lengthy form, maybe up to 30 pages. What we've done now is that the forms are actually so intuitive to a point that the minute you mention that I'm actually interested only in this benefit, it will actually then go to those pages that are related to the cover that you need. What that does is that it saves and make sure that we only capture the information that is accurate. And in certain cases, if we've got that information for existing clients, we're able to pre-populate some of those things. So that is one thing that we're innovating. The other thing is that we've just kind of like introduced like the claims live, where if people then digitally submit their claims, unlike before where they would find themselves with like life cover claims that will take anything up to like from 10 days to more. Now they can actually have that claim finalized in the next 48 hours, which I think for us is a game changer. And I think for our clients, it saves them a lot of times and gives them access to the funds that they so need when something like death maybe has occurred in their families.
Wow, that's really interesting to hear. So anybody that's watching this right now, Kedibone, they want to engage with Liberty, they want to find out about what we've been talking about. How can viewers who are interested in learning more about Liberty's insurance products that you've been speaking about, how should they proceed? What's the best way of interacting with Liberty? I guess for me, as maybe I'm old school, the first place I would go to is the website.
You're quite correct. So even I was going to say that they can actually visit Liberty's official website, which is www.liberty.co.za. And I think from there, it actually gives you prompts on the sides where if you've read what you've read and you like what you've seen and you want to hear more about it, it gives you the option to actually speak to a financial advisor. And I think, as you might probably also know, is that obviously with us having been in the industry for over 6 decades, one of the big things that we pride ourselves in is that we've got the biggest distribution footprint from either the branches that you can actually then access with us now being part of the Nedbank group, and also then the financial advisors that we've got. So if you actually ask for a financial advisor, it will ask you the area that you're at, and they'll find you a financial advisor that's in the area near you, so that you don't have to travel far to get that whole thing. Because even though we've got the likes of teams, the idea is that normally people will like to eyeball each other. So that gives you that advantage that you can actually then be able to speak to someone in person and get the type of assistance that you need to get the cover that you deserve. Yeah.
Fantastic. Kedibone Chuene, the Chief Specialist for Product Marketing at Liberty. It's always so lovely to catch up with you. Thank you for your time and sharing those insights. And I can't believe the innovation that's taking place in your industry at the moment, and the changes that I'm seeing at Liberty are absolutely wonderful. It's fantastic that you are diving deep and taking the data and understanding the needs of your customers in an ever-changing market, because let's be honest, the world is changing at such a fast pace. And with the technologies that we've got around us, it's just giving us so many more tools to better understand what the markets are doing. So well done to you and your team. Thank you for joining us.
And thank you so much for having me again. Thanks to the listeners for listening as well.